What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the CrownHoops Podcast. We are on to episode number 54 now. It's been a few weeks, but we are back. My name is Jordan Daly. With me this week, we got Stacey Collier and Ben Okazawa. Say what's up, guys.
Going on?
What's up?
We got no Mike this week. He's just so hurt that the Lakers aren't the first seed that he couldn't come on.
Oh, that's cold. That's cold.
Take a shot while the guy not here.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't talk. As a Celtics fan, I cannot talk. So, let's get right into it. This past week, the All-Stars were announced for this year's All-Star Weekend happening in Atlanta. So we'll talk about that right off the bat. Overall, from what I saw on Twitter, most people were pretty content about the lineups and the announcements. There were obviously a few names that were left off, but I kind of wanted to get your opinion on that. Ben, we'll kind of start with you. Were you pretty happy with the announcements from, the starters down to the reserves? Do you think there could have been some movement there?
You know what? I honestly can't complain too much. Seems like they got it right for the most part. I think KD being the lead vote getter was a bit suspect to me for him being the captain. I think maybe guys other than him deserve that, but
Bradley Beal.
Exactly. Beal or even like Giannis as well. But KD's been having a great season, and that can't be overlooked. But yeah, I mean, Beal's a good show for sure. And then just as far as the East and the West both, I think they got it right top to bottom for the most part. I do want to shout out my guy SGA. I think he could have snuck in there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's having a great season so far. And he's leading a team that nobody expected to be good, an OKC team that once again, for the second year in a row, nobody expected to be good. He's making them somewhat competitive. And then as far as the East, I think, and this might be a hot take on my part, Sabonis over Vucevic. And that's not to say to take anything away from Vuce, because he's been having a great season. It's something like 23, 12, and 4. And he's been pretty efficient with it too. But I just think Sabonis is leading a much better team, and the stats are pretty similar. So if I had to swap someone out for Sabonis, I think it would be Vucevic. But yeah, for the most part, I think they got it right. Maybe Trey over Ben Simmons, but I think for the most part, I can't complain too much.
I like how you named replacements, though. That was a big thing that I saw on Twitter. People were saying, "Oh, this person was robbed. This person was robbed. This person was robbed." I saw. I think it was Jaylen Rose. Yeah, I think Jaylen Rose came on social media and he was like, "All right, if you guys are gonna say these people were robbed, well, sit here and look at my face and tell me who they're replacing, because all of these guys that got named deserve All-Star nods."
Yeah,
sure. I think probably the biggest snub that everyone was pretty upset about was probably Devin Booker. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he is in after all that. AD can't play, so he's taking that position. But I think that's kind of notably the biggest snub of all. But then again, if you take a look at the West, who do you put him in instead of? Assuming AD is healthy and he doesn't come in, right?
Yeah.
Who would you replace him with?
Yeah, maybe even Chris Paul, but
that was my initial thought.
Because I feel like it's fair to replace AD with him. I mean, AD hasn't had the best of seasons. He's been hurt for a good chunk of the season now, and Devin Booker's been having a great season, leading a team to a pretty competitive record. I think everyone expected them to be good, but maybe not as good as they are. I believe 20-10 is their record right now.
Yeah, they're up there for the records. They're 20-10, so they're 4th seed right now.
Mm-hmm. And they're playing right now, so who knows, maybe 21-10 coming up soon. But obviously, since AD is a forward, Devin Booker's a guard, they wouldn't be able to swap out like that. So I'm not really sure who you would swap out. Maybe his teammate Chris Paul, but he's been having a great season as well from a playmaking perspective and a scoring perspective as well. So it's kind of tough. But yeah, I definitely think Devin Booker deserved the nod.
Stacey, what about you? What are you feeling about the All-Star names this year?
I think they got it right. They got all the players right. Of course, if I was to be picky, I would definitely swap out Chris Paul and have Devin Booker voted in, as well as Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis that's kind of tough because he has been hurt throughout most of the year, and he has played under expectations. He's underperformed, if you want to call 21 points per game being underperforming. But I think they got it right. But I think that in the future, they should expand the rosters to 15. So that way they can make room for like Sabonis. Because I think Sabonis he could have been an all-star, but it's kind of hard, especially with Vooch. He had like plenty, like 40-point games, 20 rebound games. So and Julius Randle been balling out of his mind too. So it's kind of hard to. And then both of them got bigger names than Sabonis. Even though Sabonis is coming up, but I think they should expand the roster to 15. That way they'll give plenty of room to people who deserve it. But overall, I'm not mad at this. I think they got it right.
One thing I want to bring up about the All-Star voting is that there was one analyst that brought this up, and I can't remember who it was specifically, so I apologize for that. They brought up the fan vote and that whole fan vote system and how corrupt that whole system is. The fact that Alex Caruso got as many votes as he did, I feel like is almost in a way like shows how bad the fan vote kind of is.
Yeah.
Would you guys be opposed to taking away the fan vote, or do you guys think it's kind of an essential part of All-Star Weekend, keeping all the fans involved?
I think it's important to keep the fans involved personally. And I mean, stuff like that's always going to happen. I mean, Klay Thompson was in the top 10 for Western Conference guard. He hasn't played a game all year, but I mean, it is important to keep the fans involved. And luckily in the NBA, we haven't gotten to a point where it's actually corrupted the game itself to this point. Like we saw Taco Fall get kind of close, Alex Caruso, Klay Thompson, whatever you want to say. But at the end of the day, none of those guys actually made the All-Star game. And that first vote, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is fans, media, and players all get votes during that stretch, if I'm not mistaken, and they all have weight in that. So at the end of the day, they usually get it right. It looks like this year they got it right, but yeah, it is annoying to see guys like that up there for sure.
Yeah, because my thing is, right, the ballots that are being put in with those guys' names is taking away a vote from someone else. So do you think there's even a way if the NBA allowed the fans to vote, but they kind of put a player pool together and kind of limited it, like, all right, we're cutting it off at these people. You guys can vote for this group of people, or do you still think that's taking away too much from the fans?
Yeah, this gonna take away a little bit from the fans. It's supposed to be a fun thing. All-Star is about not only celebration of the players, but it's also about bringing different fans together for one, major event over the course of the weekend. But long as the fan folk don't be taking that serious. Like at the end of the day, Caruso's not getting in, Taco Fall is not getting in. So we all know that. So it's all right. It's okay.
You're fine with it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it sucks seeing those guys' names up there because it's getting a vote taken away from someone that maybe would have needed that vote to get in. So like say AD didn't get injured and he kept his spot, then Devin Booker didn't get votes because people wanted to vote for Alex Caruso instead.
Yeah.
So
it's like 12-year-old kids who just think it's hilarious to hop on. Like grown people aren't voting for Alex Caruso as a joke.
I would hope not, but man, I can see Mike White sitting here being okay. He's a Laker, yeah, we putting him in.
Nah,
I can see it.
No, I don't think Mike will do that.
Caruso is Mike's man, though. Mike loves.
He does love Caruso. He does love Caruso.
Yeah, that's what he calls him, Caruso. He does love Caruso.
But I do want to say about the All-Star voting system, it is kind of messed up in a way. Like, how do we kind of differentiate the importance of team record and then individual stats? Because that's why Devin Booker last year, team was bad, but he was putting up great numbers, and he missed the All-Star game. And this year his team's great, but he lost it to a guy putting up better individual numbers. You know what I mean? So it's kind of weird that way. I think we need to sort of make a note of what's more important. But I mean, at the end of the day, fans are just going to vote how they vote, and we're going to see who we see in the All.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I will say this though. Looking at the All-Star votes and all the people that are in, I think one person that everyone was pretty happy to see finally get that All-Star nod was Zach LaVine. I've been a big fan of Zach LaVine his entire career. That's my thing with basketball. I love dunkers. The fact that he was able to kind of build around that and become like a full basketball player that can do a little bit of everything on the court, and then to get that recognition on a team that's not so great, I think is really cool to see. And I saw they posted on the Bulls Instagram account, they did this cool thing for him where they tricked him into thinking it was like media interviews. So he went and like sat down, like all the virtual interviews, and it ended up being like all of his family and friends just like congratulating him. So you could tell it meant a lot to him. So I was pretty happy to see that. And he's been on a tear. I saw Bleacher Report tweeted out his stats for like the last 10 games. He was averaging like 40 something points a game. It's just insane. So love to see it.
Yeah, that sounds like me and 2K at 40 points a game.
His Stacey's my player right there is a beast. But I mean, Zach LaVine's trajectory is pretty cool, like you said, Jordan. Like for him to be only considered here and then sort of build in leading team, who's actually I think the Bulls are the 8th seed right now, so it's not even like he's on a terrible team or anything.
Yep.
And he's putting up pretty great numbers as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, with the Celtics loss, the Bulls are now the 6th seed and the Celtics the 8th. Just to update that. So we're gonna get into that though. But before we do, let's keep on this subject of All-Star Weekend. They haven't announced the dunk contest participants yet, but is there anyone specifically you would like to see involved in that? And we got to keep in mind that this year it's going to be a little bit different. In the past years, the dunk contest was on different nights, so guys could compete in different events. Now, because of COVID, we have all of the All-Star Weekend events on one night. So, like you guys were telling me prior to recording, we have the skills competition and the 3-point before the game. First half of the game goes. The dunk contest is during halftime, and then it's the second half of the game. So I feel like it's going to be really hard for guys competing in the All-Star game to go out and do the dunk contest during halftime, especially seeing how competitive the All-Star game got last year because of the Elam ending. I think guys are going to be a little more cautious with that. But yeah, is there anyone you guys specifically want to see into the dunk contest?
All they got to do, and this is for my vote, for Zion, of course. All they got to do, just play the guy for like 5 minutes. And for like 5 minutes in the first half, then let him do what we want to see is be in the dunk contest. Why not see Zion Williamson? One of the most powerful dunkers in the NBA. You know how to finish. I'm pretty sure he got some tricks up his sleeve. I just want to see it. Another person I want to see Ja Morant in the dunk contest. I want to see him. I want to see because we know he can get up there. Of course, he didn't finish that dunk over Kevin Love, but
if he had finished that would have been one of the best dunks of all time.
Yeah,
definitely.
Stuff like that.
That was ridiculous.
And also, since I'm sorry, Ben, I'm going to bring it up again. Let's see Anthony Edwards in a dunk contest after what he did to your boy. What was his name? Watanabe?
Watanabe. Yeah.
Wasabi, whatever.
Let's
see him.
Yeah.
You just called your man Wasabi.
Fair show. Been called Wasabi before. Can't even be mad at it. It's a cool name.
Oh man,
that was a good one.
Just Anthony Edwards. Let's see him in dunk contest.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that though. He's got bounce for sure. I mean, outside of that dunk too, he's been getting up. He's had some good ones. And he's just a funny guy too. I don't know if you guys have seen his post-game interviews. I love it. I love his take on the Popeyes fries. He's got him top 4, I think. But he's just a funny guy overall. Anthony Edwards, definitely Jaw's a good pick as well.
Number one guy I want to see back in it is Aaron Gordon. I want to see him redeem himself.
I don't think he's never going to do it again. He's hurt right now too, but he's never going to do it.
I would love to see him go back, but yeah, I don't think he's going to. I mean, this man was robbed
twice.
Definitely once, negotiably twice.
Yeah, I mean, the Zach LaVine one was close.
Yes.
Derek Jones Jr. last year should have been AG, but
yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Derek Jones Jr. come back. Hamidou Diablo. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Hami come back.
He
surprised to see that.
Dunk contest, actually. That dunk over Shaq. He dunked over Shaq and he put his elbow in the rim. That was gross.
I mean, Aaron Gordon jumped over Taco, but apparently that's not enough to win it. But
yeah.
Sorry, pause. There's just so many people that can go into it. I would love to see like Donovan Mitchell do it, but I don't think he will because of the All-Star game. I would love to see Zach LaVine do it, but I don't think he will because of the All-Star game. Yeah. One person I've always wanted to see do a dunk contest, but I don't know if he would do as well now as LeBron James. I feel like I always wanted to see him in a dunk contest, but
surprised he's never done one.
Yeah, I just don't think I'm gonna say this, but I know I'm gonna regret it the second it comes out of my mouth. At his age, I would be surprised to see it. But it's like the thing with Tom
That's
Brady.
fair.
Like you can't throw age in their faces because they'll make you eat that.
I don't see him as like I don't know. I don't see him as like a creative contest dunker.
That's fair too.
He has the athleticism to pretty much do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
If you give him that like alley.
Yeah, but I just don't see him like that because dunk contest, you got to be creative. You got to like come up with something like right then and there.
What was that dunk he did last season when he like cradled it
gross,
all the way
up and under.
Yeah, that thing was nuts.
Yeah, I feel like if you get we see that for 50. We see that 50 times a season. Yeah, you gotta bring something else. New
you can't do that in the dunk contest. But I'm sure it would be entertaining.
Athleticism where he could do whatever.
For sure. Wants. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, he's got some power to him. So I would definitely like to see that. And this is my biased Celtics take coming in here. A very underrated player that I think could honestly do well in the dunk contest is Javonte Green. He's like our 15th man right now for Boston. Barely gets any minutes, but this dude can dunk. He does in-game dunks. He puts people on posters pretty frequently when he gets the minutes. I would love to see him in the dunk contest. I feel like he has the athleticism. He could get creative. Jaylen Brown's another great dunker too. I'm sure they would collaborate and figure out creative ways to do it. But they always put some like lesser known guys in the dunk contest, like Hamidou Diallo. They threw him in there. He's not really an all-star caliber guy. They give these other guys a chance and kind of that avenue to do it. I would love to see Javonte Green get a chance. I think he could definitely capitalize off of that and make some new fans.
Yeah,
so that'd be pretty cool. Any other guys you'd like to see get thrown in there?
No one I can think of. We haven't really seen a whole lot of guys this season. So haven't really been too many crazy posters. But yeah, I think we pretty much covered the guys.
All right, so we will move on to our next topic. Obviously, one of the surprising headlines of the NBA this season. Kills me to talk about it. The Celtics are terrible. There's no sugarcoating that. There's no trying to defend them. They are terrible. Below 500 for the first time since I think they said the 2013 season when we had nobody. This is just really, really bad. If we don't get blown out in the first half where we just can't come back, we're blowing huge leads like we did the other night against the New Orleans Pelicans. I think we blew a 27-point lead. It's just horrendous. So I have my opinions on it, but I want to get an outsider's perspective. Stacey, we'll start with you. What do you think is the issue for the Celtics and how can they fix it?
I think the issue for the Celtics is they have not improved their roster versus other teams in the East have improved their roster. Like the Bucks, even though the Bucks, still was on top of the East, top of the Celtics even, they improved their roster somehow. They got a couple pieces. Philly improved their roster somehow. The Nets improved their roster. The Celtics have been the same, and it's catching up to them. Having all those guards and all those wings and not be able to move any pieces. They failed to land Miles Turner, even though they had the inside track. They needed somebody like that, and this is the results. I said this before. The Celtics don't make changes to their roster, don't get a big man, don't get anything like that, then this is where they're going to be at, and we seeing that playing out right now. So that goes to Danny Ainge. He hasn't done enough to improve the Celtics roster. And then Brad Stevens only can do what he can do as far as coaching, and he's the one that's going to be on the chopping block to take the fall for everything. So
do you think Brad Stevens is at fault at all?
I think he at fault to some degree, but I've said this before. I've wondered this, and I said this before. Like, what can you do with a team that's that's kind of small? You have a ton of guards and you have a ton of wings, and you're trying to fit everybody everywhere. You have Tatum. Tatum was at the 4 sometimes, and that don't make sense to me, even though he has the height and the size, but he's more of a 3. It's only a limited amount of things that he can do with the roster and move him around. Sometimes he has Marcus Smart and Kemba starting at the same time, and you gotta have Marcus Smart coming off the bench, because if you don't have him come off the bench, who's giving you those, scoring off the bench? Now your bench is terrible. They just need to make roster changes, and that falls on Danny Ainge.
I definitely agree with the roster changes. I mean, I remember sitting here in the offseason just being so painful, seeing all these teams get better around us and then seeing us do absolutely nothing but lose people. And then, like you said, hearing all these trade rumors that we're going to get a big man out of Indiana, that never happened. We ended up making more and more draft picks of guys that are sitting on our bench or would be in Maine if the G League season was going on. So it's extremely frustrating to see no moves being made. Danny Ainge came out last week or 2 weeks ago now and basically said, yeah, you guys are right. We don't have it. We're not going anywhere this year. The fact that he said that and still isn't making any moves is just blowing my mind. It's frustrating that we haven't made a single move since the Kyrie Irving trade. Obviously that didn't work out, but the Boston Celtics are losing their prime years of Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and just letting nothing happen. Kemba's obviously not the answer. And there was a leak that Danny Ainge apparently aggressively tried to trade him over the offseason because he knew his knee was pretty bad. Kemba has been, 3-4 games aside, Kemba's been pretty terrible this year. And I hate saying that because I love Kemba. I think he's a great guy, a great player. He's not it this year. So that's a guy that I think the Celtics will try to move. But yeah, height's always been the issue. Bench has always been the issue. I like your point about Marcus Smart. At this point, I think the Celtics need to kind of open their eyes and realize, listen, we have 3 untouchables on this team: Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. And I know a lot of people will probably be like, why do you say Marcus Smart is untouchable? We have fallen apart without him. He's the heart and soul of this team. He's a defensive anchor. He's kind of that energy off the bench. He's one of those very few guys in the NBA that I think can legitimately change a game coming off of a bench, just because of the attitude he brings. But I definitely agree we need to bolster our roster and make trades. If we waste this season and don't even attempt to make a trade, that's a huge fail. And I think the Celtics organization needs to make some changes. Looking back after last season and, the upsetting loss against Miami, not even making it to the finals, where that should have been our year. If any year we had to go to the finals, that should have been it. Not saying we would have won it, but we should have gone to the finals. We should have not lost to the Miami Heat. That was a huge failure. And that was kind of what opened me in my eyes to seeing that Brad Stevens is definitely part of the problem. And this is why I questioned you on that, Stacey. Yes, he definitely makes some questionable lineup decisions. He's been known to favor a few guys and give guys more minutes. We saw it with Gordon Hayward. I personally think he does it with Shemi Ojeleye. I think he gets way too many minutes this year. But not even that. It's some of his play call decisions. So, I'll throw it back to the New Orleans game a couple nights ago when we blew a 27-point lead. We had the chance to hold the ball for the final shot, and we shot the ball with like 10 seconds left and gave them a ton of time, and they won it. Or they sent it to overtime and then won it. But it's just questionable calls like that. It's like, why would you do that? I know a lot of people, specifically my dad, are done with Brad Stevens. They want him out. But then again, I kind of sit back and reflect and be like, okay, if we fire him, who are we going to have replace him? There's really no better options right now. So I kind of think you got to roll with Brad and just Danny Ainge just needs to wake up. I don't know what else to say. I feel like this is all on Danny Ainge at this point. I will make another comment talking about what the Celtics broadcasters think. But Ben, I wanted to get your take on this first.
Yeah, I would have to agree with a lot of the points you guys made. I mean, I hate to add fuel to your Marcus Smart fire, Jordan, but I think they're really missing him right now. Not only just the intangibles and the energy he brings, but also, his defensive play, and he can be an offensive spark plug as well. So, and defense breeds offense too. So, it's definitely missing him is huge. But I'm not sure if he was here, if you guys would be like a 1 seed in the East. You know what I mean? I think it's definitely issues with the bigs. Tristan Thompson has been. Daniel Tice has never been a bad player for you guys. He's always been sort of a solid guy, but definitely not what you need as a big man, as a presence in the paint.
I'd agree.
So yeah, I think this all falls, like both you guys said, on Danny Ainge. And Heath brought that up. One of our writers, Heath, shout out to Heath, brought that up in our chat. He said this all falls on Danny Ainge. I don't know how much you can blame Brad Stevens. And we'll get to it later, but I think Tatum and Brown have been having a hard time kind of carrying this team for the past couple months.
Yeah, and speaking on kind of lineups and Brad Stevens dealing with lineups, one thing I forgot to mention that definitely deserves praise is Robert Williams. This man deserves so many more minutes. When he is on the floor, he literally dominates the boards, gets a lot of second chance points. He really changes the game for us. I honestly think he should be the starting center at this point. Like I said, Tice has been great, but he's not really that guy for us. I think if you give Robert Williams some more room to grow, there's a chance there. I think he's only 23, 24 years old. He's young. Tice is 27, 28. I definitely think Robert Williams is the answer if we're not going to make a trade. I hope we do make a trade because this roster is not doing anything, but if we're going to roll with what we got, give more minutes to Rob Will. But Ben.
Yeah. And also, no, I just wanted to say, Danny Ainge, the fact that he would come out and say this roster isn't going to get it done, I'm sure that means behind the scenes he's working on something. But you do have to question his decisions in the draft. Like you mentioned, Peyton Pritchard, he's been playing great. So what happened to the Aaron Nesmith draft pick? Because he hasn't played at all, really.
Like a Romeo Langford a year ago.
Or Romeo Langford as well. Even Grant Williams. I mean, he's been kind of solid as well, but I mean, like a 6'5" power forward isn't really what you guys need,
especially when they don't play. Yeah, I would definitely agree. Like we've had so many draft picks, and for the past few years, I feel like we always credited Danny Ainge with being this great drafter, great eye for talent. I mean, you look back, he had 3 good years with Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum.
The Tatum draft was genius. I don't know what happened there. The Tatum draft was genius.
But to be honest, after seeing the years following that, I don't know if I genuinely believe that he was going to take Tatum at 1 regardless, or if he's just like bullshitting everyone and getting away with it. Because since then, he's made some real questionable draft picks. Like you said, Pritchard's worked out. Pritchard's been outstanding. He's been a huge force for off the bench. I think we'd be way worse off without him. I will say that. But again, I think that's just luck. I don't think I can credit Ainge on that. But yeah, one thing I wanted to bring up with you guys as well is the local sports broadcaster, Mike Gorman, for NBC Sports Boston, basically said he puts the blame on Tatum and Brown. He kind of said they weren't being good enough leaders for the team. And his main point on this accusation was saying that they're more worried about individual stats and accolades. He said that, he's noticed there are multiple times where they could have passed the ball to get an open shot, but one of them would kind of take the shot instead and take a contested shot. There's 2 ways of looking at that. If I'm Jayson Tatum, I have a semi-contested mid-range shot, and I see Shemi Ojale wide open on the 3. If I'm Jayson Tatum, I'm taking the shot. You gotta at some point kind of look and reflect and be like, okay, Jayson Tatum is great at hitting mid-range shots. Shemi Ojale is a basketball player. I'll give him that. But
Sammy,
it's just tough. Like, yeah, you can say they're not being team players, but okay, let's go a game where they pass the ball every single time and see what happens and see how much we get smoked by. I mean, these guys will hit their shots every once in a while, but none of these guys are going to make any contribution compared to Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. I mean, they're all stars, right? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, okay, they give up the rock. Who they giving it up to exactly? I mean, you got Kemba. Kemba hasn't been there, and you don't have any 3-point shooters on this team that can knock down shots. I'm not passing it to Ojale either. but I mean, what do you expect from them? What do you expect from them? I mean, and they still young too, so the whole leadership thing, it probably is not there yet for them. Especially Jayson Tatum. So
I was gonna say with leadership, I feel like Jaylen Brown is very widely known and respected as a leader. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
that's pretty
Yeah,
low.
I don't know what he means by that, but as far as like uplifting the team, I guess passing the ball, I guess that's what he mean. Like, who is he passing it to that's gonna like do something with it? They don't have them two players are the only two players right now that's reliable as far as like making an individual play. So, and neither one of them like a pass first type player. Both of them are scorers at heart. So.
Yeah, and I think it's tough because like, we'll bring it back to Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is the clear leader of the team. We haven't had a captain since Paul Pierce, but if there was going to be one, it would be Marcus Smart. He's always the one talking to the young guys and kind of calming everyone down and regrouping everyone if the other team goes on a run. We haven't had that. So I think that is definitely part of the problem as well. I definitely don't think you can blame Tatum and Brown because you take Tatum and Brown out of Boston, we'd probably be worse than Cleveland at the moment. So I'm thankful for what we got. All right, we'll kind of move on from that. Ben, I'm going to pass it over to you for the hot take segment.
Sure, yeah. I do want to say just about Tatum and Brown. Both seem like great guys. Brown widely respected. But yeah, you guys pretty much covered it. So I'll move on to takes. First one is coming from, still on the topic of the Celtics, Cedric Maxwell. He said that Luka Doncic is Larry Bird reincarnated. Which, I mean, it's a fair take. Luka Doncic is probably going to be great, just like Larry Bird is great. Just don't see a whole lot of comparisons between the two's games, and I'm trying to figure out where he's coming from. He didn't really mention much. But do you guys think when it's all said and done with, Luka could be in sort of the conversation for one of the best players of all time, along with Larry Bird? Just seems like a bit of a stretch to me at this point.
Yeah, I need to see more for him. Obviously, he's a great player, probably one of the best in the NBA at the moment. But if I put him up all time, and I also don't think you can compare him to Larry Bird because there's more to basketball, I think, than just your skill and, how you shoot the ball, how you dribble the ball, stuff like that, the intangibles. It also has to do with attitude. You look back at Larry Bird. His name was trash talking.
Yeah.
Everyone. He did not care about your feelings. Where Luka Doncic pregame is literally skipping around the court, dancing with like Boban and people like that. Like,
yeah,
they're just not the same person. You cannot compare them. Like, no, that's a huge no for me.
Yeah, and I'd have to say as well, like Larry Bird was a pretty good 3-point shooter. Luka Doncic rarely shoots above like 35% from three. Yeah. But yeah, as well as, I mean, they're just their mentalities. Like Larry Bird was a straight killer. Luka Doncic, clutch, but he doesn't have that kind of killer mentality. Stacey, what do you think?
I just don't like it when people compare the players of now to old players. I think that's kind of unfair. You can't compare Luka to Larry Bird. Like I said, they two different players you get. Like you got Larry Bird, the killer, the shooter and all that, and then you got Luka, who just, fantastic playmaker / scorer. So I don't like that comparison. I think Luka should be, compared to Luka, compared to last year, compared next year, and all that stuff. Speaking of Luka, he's on the pace to be pretty all time. I mean, I would think that somebody would figure him out by now, but I don't know how he's doing it because it seemed like when he plays, it's like so slow. And it's so methodical, but he'll break you down and step back and just hit a rainbow shot on you. He'll pass the ball. He'll rebound. I don't even know how he rebound. I haven't even seen him jump up that high. But, I mean, like, he's a fantastic player, and he continue on this trajectory. It's going to be a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Larry Bird is kind of universally known as top 10. We'll see if Luka is able to get there. I agree. He is definitely going to be a Hall of Famer, though. And I mean, I guess that's just what comes. Like you mentioned, just him being so methodical with it. I guess that's just what comes with playing pro basketball since you're 16 years old. Yeah. And then moving into the NBA. And he's still young, too. But no, I definitely agree with both you guys. It's hard to kind of compare eras and compare those two different guys.
Yeah, Stacey, I like your point about like not being able to compare like players from different generations, just because it's a different rule set. It's a lot more physical now. Or no, it was a lot more physical then. You get away with a lot more calls compared to now. If you touch someone, or if you're Giannis, I don't know if you guys saw this video. Giannis dunked on someone, And he literally just looked at him afterwards.
Brutal call.
And he got teed up.
Call. Yeah.
It was the softest thing I have ever seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't compare it.
Yeah, that was really bad. But yeah, we'll move on to the next hot take, which comes from Jordan's friend Joey, who I believe has been on here for, if not one of our podcasts, then definitely like a draft live.
This man is known for hot takes. He is a walking, breathing, living hot take.
Yeah, just like our very own Skip Bayless.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, so this one's definitely really confusing to me, especially coming from a Celtics fan.
I don't call him a Celtics fan. No, this is the big.
Okay.
He's a Celtics fan, but he's also the biggest Celtics hater I know.
Okay. Fair enough. It's
really
kind
weird.
of become disillusioned with the franchise.
I think he just tries to like put his hopes down early. That way he like doesn't get hurt. I think it's kind of like that. It's a good call. I like doing that too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he said the Celtics should trade Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, the Jays, for LeBron James. And I have a lot of thoughts on this, but Stacey, I just want to hear what you think first, especially as a LeBron fan and a Lakers fan. How do you think that works out for the Celtics, and how do you think it works out?
It doesn't work out for either one. I'll tell you that right now, especially for the Celtics. LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron. Oh, even if LeBron goes to the Celtics, let's imagine that right now. LeBron going to the Celtics with that roster outside of Tatum and no, they gonna be just where they are right now, under 500. They're not going to the playoffs. Now, with Tatum and Brown on the Lakers, that could be an interesting story. But then again, the chemistry factor there, then you still got AD and Kyle Kuzma. And leadership, they would take a hit of leadership.
Yeah.
But this is an awful idea. I don't know what he's trying to do. What is he thinking about? How this help the Celtics exactly? LeBron gonna retire the next season after if he ever ends up on the Celtics in this scenario.
Yeah, makes no sense.
It don't make no sense at all.
Yeah, Jordan, it's your friend. Maybe you got an inside track on his mindset here, but
you guys should see some of the hot takes he sends you. We could literally do a weekly hot take of his hot takes. They're that often and they're this wild. I was like trying to figure out like where he was coming from. He was basically trying to say like, well, he did it with Cleveland that year where he carried like Big Z to the finals. I was like, okay, we're talking like old ass LeBron who load manages and sits out pretty often.
Versus like a 23-year-old LeBron.
Exactly. And you look at the roles. LeBron's done a great job of shifting his game to work with his age where he can still contribute a ton, but he's not like the center of attention at all times. He's willing to pass that ball to AD, let AD be the workhorse, where younger LeBron was doing everything.
Yeah. I
don't think current LeBron is doing that with the Celtics. You can't.
Agreed.
What's his next option to pass to? Like Shemi Ojale? I'm ragging on Shemi. I'm sorry.
Pritchard in the corner.
There you go. Peyton Pritchard can be his Mo Williams. That was like the second best player on that Cavs team. It was like Big Zed and Mo Williams.
It's not happening. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what he is. I don't think the Celtics do that. I don't think the Lakers do that.
Yeah, I don't think the Lakers do that.
Why he does that?
It's a lose-lose for everyone. It's funny. Like, if I'm a third-party team, right? I would want the Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown side of things. I think the Lakers would be the only team in the NBA to say no to that trade just because of how their whole chemistry is set up and how everything works.
Yeah, that would hurt surprisingly, because those are two great players, that would hurt their chances of going
exactly.
to the
That
finals.
Lakers team is so well constructed to like build around everyone's strengths and weaknesses that
I think it would set them up for the future more so, but I still don't think like in the immediate, couple years, I think the way they've got Braun and AD right now, I don't think they would trade Braun for anything.
No, I would agree. So Joe, stay off the weed, whatever else you're on, man. I'm telling you, we could literally do this every week with one of his hot takes. I'm gonna note that down. We'll do it like a Joey hot take segment. Maybe every once in a while we can have him come on and try to defend his take. That would be pretty funny.
So I think that's a pretty terrible take. But speaking of bad moves that would be made by general managers, Jordan, I'll let you take the next topic here.
So I feel like prior to this year, one of the more notably terrible GMs in the league has been none other than the GOAT, MJ, GM of the Charlotte Hornets, has been criticized time after time for some of the terrible contracts he has given people. Let's look back at Cody Zeller, Michael K. Gilchrist. Look at those contracts. Like, he is just known for overpaying people. Beginning of the season comes along. An injured Gordon Hayward, coming off of some of his worst career years in Boston, gets a huge payday with Charlotte. No one else was going to pay him that. So no one knew what they were thinking. But MJ paid him that, ends up drafting Lamelo Ball as well in the draft. They're kind of looking like the ex-Celtics with T-Row over there as well. You look at the Hornets now, Gordon Hayward's having one of the best years of his career. Terry Rozier, one of the best years of his career. Lamelo Ball is looking like an all-star. You got to wonder, is MJ kind of starting to redeem himself, or do you think he just got a little lucky in this case? Do you think, the Hornets are kind of building something over there, or do you think this will fall apart pretty soon? Because I do want to say with Terry Rozier, he is known to have a little bit of an attitude, so we'll see how long that lasts with Lamelo, but let's get your opinion. Stacey, how you feeling about MJ as the GM now?
I think now we're just starting to, work out. Gordon Hayward, of course, I still disagree with the money and all that stuff, but I think the fact that Gordon Hayward is trying to prove himself again, like he's trying to prove that, he can still play at a high level. I think that worked out for MJ. I think MJ got lucky with that one. Lamelo, I think in the draft, especially when it was the Hornets' turn, I think we all knew that it was going to take Lamelo. That was a no-brainer at that point. So I'm not surprised about that either. Maybe finally getting right. I mean, they following their new head coach in there. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know how good the Hornets can be. Like, I don't know how good they can be. Like, LaMelo still got a long way to go. Terry Rozier, I don't look at him as being that number one or even a number two guy. Gordon Hayward, still kind of worried about him being injured. Then the other pieces on his team, like PJ Washington, still young, still developing. Devontae Graham, even though he'll score, he struggles as far as like efficiency. So, I mean, they still have a while to go before we consider them like the Phoenix Suns or the Thunder, or like where they just like a couple steps away and to take the NBA by storm. But right now the wheels are turning just a little bit for them.
Okay, Ben, how you feeling about them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Hornets have been pretty solid. They're not like above 500. They're not in playoff positioning right now. They're the 10th seed, so they're in play-in positioning. They just beat the Suns tonight, which is a pretty big win for them. And just like everything you guys said, man, LaMelo's been looking solid, constant, pretty much nightly triple-double threat. He had 28 and 4 tonight, 7 for 11 from the field. So yeah, he's looking pretty good. Like, he definitely had efficiency concerns coming out of Australia, but he's shooting pretty well. And then, like you said, Hayward's looking good, but you always got injury concerns with him. Malik Monk's been having a good season too. He had 29 points tonight, 50% shooting. It's pretty solid. I mean, yeah, MJ has sort of redeemed himself here. We can probably chalk that Hayward performance up to luck so far this season. Like, I still don't think he deserves that 40 mil contract, 30 mil contract, whatever it is. But I mean, the Terry Rozier trade is starting to kind of pay dividends there, especially given what Kemba's been looking like so far. So yeah, I mean, MJ still has a long way to go until he's redeemed as a GM, until he can get up that GOAT status as a general manager as well. But they don't look terrible. They're trending in the right direction. Right now they're the 10 seed, but who knows, given LaMelo's production and whenever they get Devontae Graham back healthy, healthy and Gordon Hayward at full minutes and full production there too. So could be worse for MJ, but yeah, definitely hasn't quite redeemed himself. I don't think, not quite out of the doggos.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think he's redeemed himself because I honestly think he just took a shot in the dark, held his breath, and it's paying off right now. Like I said, I don't know why he paid Gordon Hayward that much. I don't think we'll ever know. Maybe there's a bidding war behind the scenes that we didn't know about. But to me, that makes zero sense. They could have gotten him for so much cheaper. So I don't understand what he was doing there.
This probably was a bidding war. You at the end of the day, free agency, especially today, you're gonna have to overpay to get somebody.
I don't think he's redeemed himself yet, though. At the end of the day, I've had to make a decision.
They have to, in order for him to redeem himself, they got to make the playoffs. And the thing is, when do we see the Hornets as a playoff team? Like when should we be expecting that? Like that's the thing, kind of weird about the Hornets. Like they're young enough to where we can see them develop and all that stuff, but I don't know fully developed are they in the playoffs, because we still got teams in the East who are coming up as well, and I think their prospects is much more better than the Hornets. So I don't know.
See, if MJ wants to redeem himself, I think he needs to make a trade. I see a lot of guards over there in Charlotte. If they could make a trade
Devontae Graham, or I think Terry Rozier's trade capital would be super high right now given the season he's having. So
if MJ was able to pull off a trade that really bolstered that team, that point I think I'd redeem him a little bit. But I mean, aside from that Kemba trade, he really hasn't done anything. He kind of just takes a back seat and I don't know if he became a GM just because he wanted that title. I feel like he's one of those people that does things just to do them because he can. Especially after watching The Last Dance, we saw his personality. Yeah, someone probably like gambled him the team. They were like, if I win, I bet you won't buy an NBA team. And he was like, bet. And he probably lost.
If we take anything from The Last Dance, in about 2026, the Hornets will be NBA champions.
Yeah. he's gonna see this, a bunch of guys who he doesn't even know talking about the GM he is. He's gonna take it personally.
Just Michael Jordan, if you ever listen to this, just know I gave you a championship in 2026. So I just want my credit.
26. Oh man, I mean, hey, that's probably around LaMelo's prime if they're able to keep him around. But let's be honest, there is zero chance LaMelo is staying in Charlotte. He just screams big city to me. I don't know.
He does,
especially with his dad. He's gonna end up in some big city. But all right, let's end the episode off by kind of keeping in talks with LaMelo Ball. Let's take a look at some of the rookies this year, see how they're performing. Take a look at some of our early favorites for Rookie of the Year, and talk about any real surprises that you guys have seen. Ben, we'll start with you this time. Who's kind of your favorite for Rookie of the Year, and who are some other guys to watch?
I mean, yeah, we talked about LaMelo. I think he's an undeniable Rookie of the Year. He's a shoo-in, but just want to give some shout outs to Tyrese Halliburton. He was drafted like top 8, top 10 early on. I think he was drafted 13 or 14 the Kings. And he's been great. He's probably, I would say, second in that Rookie of the Year race. And James Wiseman's been good too. Anthony Edwards, I wasn't quite sold on him. And we did an episode about this, or we talked about this in an episode where he said he would rather be playing football. And we sort of all questioned his commitment, but he's been looking great. And I mentioned that he's a pretty likable guy off the court as well. So I like Anthony Edwards. I've come around on him. James Wiseman, Ty Halliburton, but I think undeniably LaMelo Ball has to be your Rookie of the Year if you're on that deciding committee or whatever.
Stacey, how are you feeling about these rookies? Any like notable names you want to throw out there, or are you kind of agreeing that LaMelo is kind of the clear, concise Rookie of the Year?
It's the most boring Rookie of the Year race I ever seen in my days of watching the NBA. It just is no excitement. I said this about the rookie class. This class will not be ready for another few years. Like, it's a lot of underdeveloped talent in this class.
Very young class.
So,
I will say that too.
Yeah. So none of them really jump off the pages to me. I think LaMelo is like clearly rookie of the year, and that's saying something to the class. I mean, like, ain't like he's lighting the world on fire. He had his spurts of good games here and there, but at the end of the day, he's still averaging like 12 points.
14.6 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 6.1 assists. He leads
that's
all of the rookies in all of those stats, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean that's okay.
Crazy that he's leading the league in rebounds
for rookies.
For rookies, over like James Wiseman, but
but James Wiseman don't start, right?
Yeah,
I think he come up. Yeah, I do want to give him a shout out. James Wiseman, he's
playing double the minutes of James Wiseman.
Yeah, I'll give James Wiseman a shout out. He's not starting, so of course his number's gonna take a hit. But for him to come off the bench, I think he's averaging like 12, 13 off the bench, which is pretty good. One rookie that I'm looking forward to in the future is Tyrese Maxey, out of Philly.
He showed flashes.
Yeah, but his problem is, I mean, he's in Philly. You got MB, you got Simmons, Tobias Harris. Matisse Thybulle ahead of him, and
exactly
Steph Curry. He don't have any room, but I mean, hopefully one day he'll see the floor a lot more, and I think like he'll fall out.
Yeah, I
agree.
I gotta say, like, looking at this class, I gotta say there are names that surprised me in a negative way too. So, originally in this draft class, one of the guys I was highest on was Obi Toppin. He's been terrible.
Yeah. Denny too. Denny Avdia.
Yeah.
Out of Israel. People had high expectations for him.
I forgot he was
disappointed a bit. Yeah.
I'm sure Rui's fine with that, but
I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, Obi Toppin has just been terrible. 4.9 points, 2.4 rebounds, and a half an assist a game.
Yeah.
And he's playing decent minutes too. So it's definitely not what the Knicks wanted to see. That's not what anyone wanted to see.
I think he with the Knicks. I think that's a bad situation as far as like, because they still developing other people too that's ahead of them.
RJ,
like RJ, yeah.
Julius Randle, man, has been great.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Another rookie I got to give a shout out to. We've already talked about him, Peyton Pritchard. He's definitely been one of the more NBA ready guys out of this draft.
Yeah, he's been great.
He's playing 21 minutes a game, which is pretty impressive for a rookie. Stat wise, nothing, screaming off the charts, because some games he does great, some games he doesn't really get too involved. But he's been, kind of a savior for the Celtics bench. So he's definitely worthy of a shout out. Cole Anthony's been pretty good. Patrick Williams, Sadiq Bey surprised me. You got Isaac Okoro, Kira Lewis. All these guys are having Kira Lewis, not as much, but I thought he was going to be better. But yeah, overall, it's been an class, but I agree with you, Stacey. I feel like it's going to be a couple years till we see some of these guys make real contributions. It's a very young draft class. Seeing a lot of 19, 20-year-olds. But, 3-4 years down the line, I think a lot of these guys have a pretty high ceiling.
Yeah.
And I want to say too, like you mentioned Patrick Williams, Jordan, he came off the bench in university and people were so mad about that pick by the Bulls. Because like you said, you had guys like Obi Toppin and Denny Avdia on the board. And this is a guy who didn't even start in college. You know what I mean? And for them to draft him at 4 seemed like a reach. He's been averaging 10 points, 40% shooting from the 3-point line, 5 boards a game. He's been solid. He's been better than expected for sure.
Better than Obi Toppin.
Yeah.
Obi Toppin. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. But another name that I see, RJ Hampton, not having a great rookie year. Not at all.
I don't think he's gotten a lot of opportunity, has he, in Denver?
He's got about 9.5 minutes a game.
He in a bad situation. A lot of people ahead of him in Denver.
Yeah.
I just find it crazy, like, rewind a few years, how big that name was.
Yeah.
And now it's like you look at it and it's like he's doing it.
And even last year he was like averaging similar numbers to Lamelo in Australia. Like they were both playing in the same league in Australia. They were doing pretty similar things. But I think he just landed in a worse situation.
You think if you went college it changes the situation at all?
No. I think maybe he would have been a higher draft pick, but which I mean would land him in a better situation team wise. But if he ends up on the Nuggets, either way, I don't think he's shooting up the stat boards or anything right now for him. I think they're just taking their time developing him.
Okay, Stacey, what were you about to say?
I don't want to say it's too early. It's kind of too early, but I think he one of them players that should have went to college for a year to stand out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have helped him.
Yeah, going international is still kind of a big unknown. I think we're going to start seeing more and more players do it after the success that Lamelo Ball found doing it, and then the lack of NCAA wanting to pay their athletes. But that's a whole nother topic that I would go off on for hours because that was my college thesis. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to say because we really don't know. I mean, you know, it depends on what school does he go to, what conference does he play in, does he get a big March Madness run where he can show himself off on, you know, one of the biggest scales offered in the game of basketball. I just feel like going overseas, you're kind of forgot about unless you make this crazy play that makes SportsCenter. So I think that's the biggest thing working against them. All right, but that's going to do it for this episode of the CrownHoops Podcast. Thanks, guys, for listening, watching, however you're doing. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening, hit the follow button, the little plus button. All major platforms. We just got added to iHeartRadio. So if that's the platform you usually listen to, you can find us there now as well. But yeah, as always, my name is Jordan Daly. With me this week, we had Stacey Collier and Ben Okazawa. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Send your prayers to my boy Yuta Watanabe.
Wasabi.